plus Magic has been like losing control of Limbo. It's been like a little side plot bubbling under in the books. I don't know if people saw it. Even in the Death of Doctor Strange, the first issue, some demons from Limbo had like came over and was just attacking people. And he had to help her get it under control. They don't respect her.
They do respect her. Remember, you probably don't remember, but remember in Cable, remember he said she's the Beyonce of that place.
All they do is betray her and overthrow her because she's never there.
People listening to her, and she came down there and told them what to do and all of that, especially when she's down there.
Do you remember?
They don't pay attention to her when she's not present. Now that's the problem.
Because they don't respect her. What do you mean? Exactly. That's what I'm saying. They don't care for that girl. And so Maddie's going to come in and she's going to do what needs to be done.
Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of another relaunch. Oh, you know what? This week, I am going to be Electra Nachio's Bad Bitch Ninja Assassin.
Okay. I will be Jake Lockley. He is one of Moon Knight Mark Spector's personalities.
Ooh, okay. You better start that Moon Knight promo before his show come out. I know that's right. I know that's right.
You see it.
How are you feeling?
I'm feeling good. I've had a really nice week. I took 2 days off of work, just kind of like to do things. You know, we've been talking about how capitalism has been kicking our ass a little bit lately. And so I was like, the holidays are coming up. I was like, let me just like take 2 minutes, go get like gifts, get stuff taken care of, run a bunch of errands, and then just like have a little extra bit of time on my weekend. And so I've been feeling great. It's cold here in the district, which is like blah, but I got some hot cocoa and some alcohol, and so it's a party.
See, I know that's right. I know that's right. How about you? I have been, I've been sick. Damn. No.
You got
tea for y'all out there. I don't think I got that. I got tested, so like,
oh, okay.
I'm on that. And I still got like my taste and smell and all that kind of stuff. Okay. But child, we almost ain't had no show this week because I'm not feeling well. And then speaking on that, like, I'm not feeling well. I'm sick. Mm-hmm. And like, I've been talking to this guy for like the last couple weeks or whatever. Like, cute guy, brown skin, 6'2", and he's really real nice and all that kind of stuff. But like, I'm sick, right? Mm-hmm. Why are you still asking me, what are you doing? I'm still sick.
Oh, like, he know why.
Why are you double YDing me all the time?
Because he wants you to tell him to bring you some soup.
Oh, no, I don't need that. I don't need that. No.
That's what he's waiting on. You're supposed to be like, oh, you're going to bring me some soup, some OJ, maybe a little Theraflu or something like that. Is that not?
I probably got sick from a man already. So no.
That's what happens. That's what they do. If it's one thing. If there's one thing.
Like, I'd be like, oh, I'm sick. And he'd be like, later on in the day, oh, what are you doing? I'm still sick. Like I'm not doing anything.
Oh, that is hilarious.
But anyway, enough of my problems. Let's get into these comic books. Okay, up first is Devil's Reign #1, and this is written by Chip Zdarsky with art by Marco Chetetzo. And let me just go ahead and get this out of the way and say that this is what Civil War should have been. If there's one thing that I know that I have been kind of sick of is all the hero versus hero stuff. Like, it almost feels like sometimes writers are kind of playing into the whole, and I apologize already, people, if you hear me coughing or whatever, but like, I will say that like, it feels like a lot of the hero versus hero stuff is writers playing into like who can win fights. You know what I'm saying? Like,
a little bit of a rumble.
which like I understand people like seeing the heroes kind of fight each other, but with the Devil's Reign, Chip has kind of taken that hero versus hero thing out and made the antagonist Kingpin. So like we have some clearly drawn lines of hero versus villain. Now, this book starts with the Stromwinds, who were like these underground white Kingpin people who have like been controlling like the underground for a while, and they like to just pretty much shake the table, and they feel as though Kingpin is no longer the Kingpin anymore. He's like the mayor. But again,
Right.
they kind of want to shake the table and see what's going on. Now the Kingpin went and gave a speech about that Kingpin went and gave a speech that superheroes and vigilantes are pretty much outlawed in New York. And now he's got his own Thunderbolts, which are like a lot of villains or whatever, who are the enforcers now in New York. So a lot of the heroes are being arrested because, basically, again, like Civil War.
Yeah.
Moon Knight shows up, has some really cool moments in it. I thought that they were
Gee,
cool.
he looked good, too.
He did look kind of good when the Sinister Six showed up to kind of stop him. The Sinister Six and what's that boy that Falcon don't like? U.S. Agent.
Yeah.
When they showed up to fight him, I thought that was pretty cool. And then we even got a really cool moment of Miles and Cap together, and Captain America.
I love that relationship, by the way. Like,
right.
I don't know if a lot of people notice it because they're not always together, and obviously they're not put together a lot because of their respective corners and what they do. But anytime there's some type of event, they have really made an effort to show that Cap really likes Miles, and like he is always kind of down to protect him, especially ever since what was that event, Secret Empire, where they prophesized with the Inhuman, and it was like he was supposed to kill him.
You know what event that was. I ain't even gonna say it.
But ever since that event, they've really been making sure to like build that relationship up and just kind of always show them together and like having a little bit of a little big brother moment a little bit, and I enjoyed that a lot.
Yeah, I do like seeing them together. So while they have been basically arresting all these vigilantes, most of them have pretty much gotten away into secret bunkers and stuff and been working together on how to combat it. The Fantastic Four are involved in this, and they have always been written to have this like special sanction with the government because like a lot of the experiments that Reed does are pretty dangerous because he's going to other universes and all this other kind of crazy science stuff where they can kind of practice in New York and be left alone. However, with Kingpin being the mayor, he sends Dr. Octavius over to take over Reed's his science lab, and which is never a good thing. You never want anybody like pretty much tampering in his lab because there's a lot of stuff in there that are people should not have access to probably. For example, his multiversal bridge. He has used that before in the first time I think I've ever seen it being used was in Hickman's run of the Fantastic Four. He like created this bridge basically that can like grant you access to all these other universes. So I don't see that doing very well for the heroes if they ever end up playing out with whatever Octavius is going to be doing with that bridge, because he ends up contacting Kingpin. He's like, yeah, I got it. Like I have the bridge. I have control over it. So I don't think that's going to be very good. I hope they don't bring some people over. That'd be bad. I did like the moment between Kingpin, who later goes on and meets up with his son, and he does call him his son and lets him know that, like, you shouldn't be doing this kind of stuff. And like, I'm kind of setting up the heroes being persecuted for you. Like, I'm kind of trying to help you like out. Young Kingpin Jr. ain't having it, and they are not the best of friends. So I'm interested to see what kind of goes on with that relationship. And we getting towards the end, and Tony Stark is like, I think I've learned what needs to happen. Like, we need to work on the inside. And he's like, I'm going to run for mayor. He's like, I'm going to run for mayor, and then I'm going to oppose, at least that way we can get Kingpin out. Well, all this drama is even started because Kingpin knows that, like, he had a secret file that was going to be about Daredevil's identity, but that file is like completely blank. And he's like, I know that there was something here. I know I had my mind changed. He goes and meets up with Purple Man, who has been like in a container and all that kind of stuff. Like he's been captured because he's obviously a terrible person.
Horrible.
Really terrible person who Kingpin ends up killing because, again, he's like, I know that you were involved in this somehow with changing my memory. And of course, he goes on his Kingpin rage and kills him. And then we get a little splash scene of what the Stromwinds have planned next, and that is to make Kingpin the president, which I think is a pretty interesting turn and can really shake the table for things where, like, it really made you realize that the villains were thinking far beyond what the heroes were doing. Like, you're trying to get rid of Kingpin, and we're already, like, well beyond that. So I'm been enjoying the story a lot. I thought that this was a great opening to all of this.
Agreed. It's definitely given Civil War 3, but from a different perspective. So I'm enjoying it. I love, this is my lane. It's the streets.
It is.
And we here.
Like I said, I come down to the streets a few times. I have been watching. If I were in like these kind of universes and I didn't have superpowers, I would want to be like a reformed assassin.
Okay.
Like,
okay.
Like I used to probably kill people, but like I don't do that as much anymore.
Okay. We'll take that. Yeah, I thought it was a really good showing for a lot of the characters involved. The art was obviously phenomenal. Everyone looked good. I enjoyed the like implications of Kingpin and kind of what he's doing. I don't necessarily think the story's like super. I guess like I said, it feels a little bit like Civil War. So it's like
it's not like brand new.
Yeah, but like I think it's enjoyable and it does what it needs to do, and I think it's going to be like. I think it's one of those ones that's going to have some long ramifications that actually mean something. The thing with Purple Man was kind of interesting to me because he's a mutant, right? Purple Man?
Okay, I was going to bring that up too. So, like, shouldn't the X-Men come over?
But I think that would actually be like a really interesting thing to kind of get into with him and his character because it's like, here's Purple Man. He's obviously a horrible person, but should they resurrect him on Krakoa to like let him get his second chance? Because isn't that what Krakoa is all about? Yeah,
and like, isn't there like a rule within Krakoa that mutants answer to like mutant justice? So are the X-Men going to show up at some point and come scoop him up? Because he's a terrible person, and like he has. For those who don't know, the reason that Daredevil's identity was completely erased out of people's minds is because the Purple Man's children did that like as a favor to Daredevil. And these children were not like children that he helped raise. They were all the women that he's had like assaulted before. So he's not a very good man. So like, are the X-Men gonna come do something?
I don't know. Let's get to work. Let's see. they about to go through a big change.
Yeah, they don't look too much of a change to me. Too much to me. But yeah, what would you rate this issue?
I'd give it a solid 3.5 out of 5. I think it was a great setup for the event. I think the art again was fantastic. Like the little bit you got with the heroes. I think you feel the stakes of it. Again, I think you said it's really interesting that the heroes are kind of in this space where they're trying to do this thing to like just Tony's like, oh, I'm about to run for mayor, and it's like, baby, the villains are like, we're past that already.
Right.
Like, okay,
we already got the flyers printed and the marketing material.
We only need him here for like 2 more months. So it's just like, cool, do what you need to do. So I'm really enjoying it. I'm gonna stick around for sure.
Yeah, I would end up giving this issue definitely like a 4 out of 5. It was a really solid intro to this event, and I think it's gonna be great. I'm here for it.
I really like Zdarsky's Cap too. He was good.
All right. Up next is Death of Doctor Strange, Blade #1, and take it away, Keenan, because I know that Blade is your boy. So let us know.
Oh my gosh! So this was really, really good. This was written by Danny Lore, and it had art by Dylan Burnett. And let me just tell you, like, this is a team who I feel like could do a Blade solo. Like the art was so good, and it fits so well for the story. It's kind of got like a little bit of I don't know how to explain it. kind of like a cartoony, like punk rock feel a little bit. Think of you've seen how Beta Ray. You think Daniel Warren Johnson. You've seen the pages of Beta Ray Bill, right?
Yeah.
Like think of kind of like how he draws a little bit in a way. That's what Burnett's style is similar to. And I think it fits like perfectly well for Blade in this particular story. He has become the sheriff of the vampire town in Chernobyl that Dracula has set up in Aaron's Avengers. This is actually the first time we've really seen him doing something with it. Because the issue, it was Avengers 45 where he finally like made that new status quo change, and then Heroes Reborn happened directly after that. And so this is the first time we're getting back to it, and we just see him there and how he's interacting with all the vampires. Of course, they don't like him. He doesn't like them. Dracula is like loving it. He's being very petty and passive aggressive to Blade, and he's calling him the help to everybody. And Blade's like, yeah, he's being like real nasty.
That's so nasty.
He's like being real nasty. And so the vampires, Doctor Strange has died. Obviously, this is Doctor Strange tie-in. He's died, and so all the vampires are throwing a party. And they are dressed up in like his costumes and all this stuff like that. And they're like coming up to Blade at the party and they're like, "Oh, we're sorry your friend is dead. Do you want to cry?" And they're like torturing him, and he's getting mad. And when Strange died, the barriers to all the magic realms broke down. So like some monsters, some creatures, they're not really monsters, but these creatures from a different world come in. Blade and Dracula's bodyguard beats them down. There's this one like kid left. And so they take him and they get he has this power to control your emotions. He's like an empath, and he starts enhancing Blade's rage that he feels towards the vampires. And then this big fight ends up breaking out because he manipulates this one girl to do his bidding, because she also really hates Blade. Her name's Dahlia. She's kind of like nasty as well, and they end up fighting. But Dracula stops them, and it's just like a really good story that entails that. And you see Blade do what he needs to do. He fights some more monsters other than vampires. He's adjusting to his new status quo. Dracula is funny. The art is kinetic. It's good.
Now, do you like Blade being this like sheriff of Dracula Town? Like, should that be his new status quo?
Yeah, no, definitely. I think it's something that I'm shocked it hasn't happened a long time before. And I think the only thing that has to change about it is kind of how Blade feels about vampires. Like, we know Blade hates vampires, but it's also like, by the time we get to the end of the issue, one tries to step to him and say something smart, and he just kills him.
Jeez.
It's like he punches him, knocks him out, and then he like stakes him through the heart. And it's kind of like, oh, okay. It's like, well, you can't just do that to everybody. It's like, you gotta... I think you have to really start to give the vampires like a little bit of agency. And despite Blade hating them, he has to kind of realize that some of them, they matter. And like you can't just be like killing them randomly like that sometimes.
Right.
But we'll see. Dracula was hilarious in this. I recommend people pick it up for that alone, honestly. He was just like, "What are you going to do?" He's like, "You're not going to kill me." He was just like, "What are you going to do?" He's like, "You're here to like, you have to follow my rules. You have to do what I say. Like, this is what your Avengers friends told you." He's like, "So what?" He's like, "Go do it." And it's great.
I mean, I like that.
I would rate this. Okay. I love a bad guy who's just bad. I would rate this issue a 4 out of 5. Okay. Again, if this team continued on doing like a Blade solo series, I would be all about it.
You know, I feel like that Blade solo has been like churning for a while. We should have gotten it a long time ago with that Daughter series. That was like maybe 6 years ago now. R. at this point. R.I.P. But you know how Marvel do. They waiting for that MCU hype to come. So
they are. And I think the thing about Blade too is like, I think a lot of people are still trying to figure out what his personality is. Even here in this book, we get a lot of him just being kind of like the mean, angry guy who likes to kill vampires and he wants to be alone. But there are some nice moments that talk about his grief and how the boy who ends up manipulating emotions and turns to a monster, he like really starts amplifying that grief. He's like, because whereas everybody else is so fueled by their hate and their anger towards him, he's like, you're actually sad because again, your friend just died.
Right.
Like, he's like, you're traumatized. And he's like, it's okay that you got to start feeling those things. So it was nice to see. If they can continue that trend, it would be great.
Is this a mini?
Or no, just a just this one shot.
Now, see, they playing.
But it's all. But I will say it has quickly, and this isn't really hard to do. But I reread it a couple times, and like I would easily put this in like a top 5 Blade story.
Wow. Okay.
Isn't
Blade
that
fan.
awful?
Yeah.
That's awful.
He needs way more content.
But this is like a top 5. This is like top. I would say like this. Captain Britain and MI13 that Peter Cornell did. Mighty Avengers by Ewing. That's 3. So make of that what you will. He wasn't even in that the whole time.
Yeah, we need to get Blade some more content and some more stories.
Mm.
All right. Up next is Hellions number 18, and this is written by Zeb Wells with art by Zay Carlos and Steven Segovia. And this is the last issue of this run.
All the books are winding down.
All the books are winding down. This is basically the farewell issue of the Hellions. And it's time to send some people to the pit. The last issue... Same. The last issue... they basically went to go and save or basically stop. I forget. Does he have a real name? Is it Peter?
Oh, Orphan Maker. Yeah.
Orphan Maker.
Peter.
Yeah. They went to go stop Orphan Maker from rescuing this like AI baby, and he ended up killing some humans while he was over there, and that is a no-no amongst the Krakoan law. And, the council is pretty much saying we have to abide by these rules and show people that, like, they mean something seriously. So, got to throw them in the pit. And basically, the Hellions are speaking their case. The X-Men show up, and they're pretty much there to arrest.
Get beat up.
Hold on. Not so fast.
I'm just saying, let's call it what it is.
They did end up fighting with each other. And I also will say that I appreciated that they acknowledged that Lorna and Alex were a couple before, but they moved on because Alex sees Lorna. He says hi. Mm-hmm. Lorna says hi. They kept it moving. there was no, we're going to look at each other and reminisce. It's time to move on. Okay. So the X-Men come in to arrest Peter, and they're fighting with each other. And to end the fight, Empath pretty much stops the Hellions or whatever. And they show up. Jean was not. I mean, I didn't think about that. Why didn't she stop? Well, Cyclops didn't tell her to. So anyway. They take them to the council, and it's time for them to pretty much plead their case about, like, they need to go into the pit. And in my opinion, Nanny shows up, and she's like, I'm not going to let y'all send him to the pit by himself. Like, I'm going to go with him. And personally, I feel like Nanny should have been in there by her own damn self anyway. Let's not forget all them parents and stuff she used to kill back in the day. And she's with the right. That little egg lady is not good.
I mean, I think that's the thing about. Go ahead, finish talking about this.
The boy's name is Orphan Maker. What do you think? How do you think he got that name? He's making orphans by killing parents, and she was the one sending them after him. She's not a good lady. She's funny because she wants to kill Sinister. Sure, she got to go to the pits.
I'm not
personally.
Mad.
That's what I. So, long story short, they say, "All right, you can go with them there." They didn't even fight it. They were like, "All right, girl, well, if you want to go, well, you can go too." Do you remember? Side note: it made me think of. Did you watch Making the Band back in the day?
Yes.
Do you remember when Diddy broke the group up and he sat them down and was like, Aubrey, you bad, like you could lead a group. And then he turned to Juanita, and she was like, "Well, I don't feel bad." He was like, "Well, you could go too."
That was such a nasty moment on television. Diddy is a nasty man. Oh.
But it gives you quality TV. That was quality television.
That was I remember like watching that like on television in I think I was in my dorm, I want to say.
I think I was in my yes.
oh my gosh, and like my heart was beating out my chest. I was so like, what? He's
He
breaking
really
this group.
he sat them girls down and said, "You can leave." And the one girl spoke up, and he was like, "Well, you can leave with her."
And then
And
walked
that's what
out
this
the
was.
room.
Yep.
And it was like, and he
And
was
they all
going
kind of
off
looked at
on
each other
her.
like, "Oh, is that it?" Like,
It was too much.
so Nanny and Orphan-Make are in the pit. Later on, we do get this kind of like sad scene of all the Hellions beating up on Empath. They were like, "You were over there with them. Like, you let them use our name. Like,
That's
what the
sad,
fuck,
honestly.
Emmanuel? You are like, what?"
Because like here's my thing with like, and again, like I just don't feel bad for these people. They're bad people. And so like empath, yeah, you getting cussed out and you getting yelled at, and they make supposed to make you feel like, oh, you feel bad for him because he seems remorseful about doing it, but he's still doing it. If he was remorseful, wouldn't he just stop?
Yeah.
Like, no, you
Yeah.
still controlling everybody, and it's like, oh, you know this is bad, you know this is what makes people hate you, and you're just like, well, I'm doing it anyway, so let me just keep doing it. Yeah, I'm not gonna feel bad for you, homie. They should kick you when they
Mm-hmm.
see you.
Exactly. And you're worried about whether or not if people like you or not, or like how they feel about you, but you don't even let them have their own feelings. You change them. So,
Bye.
but but hey, maybe he hasn't. It seems like this program didn't learn too much. Like he didn't learn too much from this. So, like I thought this was supposed to reform a lot of them, and he's still doing the same thing.
I think they all are. I think the whole thing about the Hellions is that they are a group of losers, and you're supposed to kind of sit there and watch them bond in losing. You know, they are like, but they bond together, and like they see good in each other, and like that's fine. The good in each other bonds you, but you're still kind of bad, and like
Mm-hmm.
that's fine. Also, you're just good. You're
Yeah.
just good about being bad.
Yeah. And then we do see Wild Child. He's been given these medications to kind of calm himself down and not be such an angry animal. Normally, I guess he normally wasn't taking them at all, but Cece was like, "No, take your medicine," and he did this time. Now,
That
the
growth.
last scene, the last few scenes we get is Scott meeting up with Havoc, and he's like, there were some problems about what needed to happen, but we made some things work. We pulled some strings. Come on, I got you somebody you need to come and meet. And then who is he introducing them to? That lady. Madeline Pryor is back.
Let me tell you something. Let me tell you something.
Back. She is back.
Madeline Pryor is back. She had on her little ski costume or outfit thing that she used to wear.
Mm-hmm.
Gave you a little
She don't
flip
have
of
her
the hair.
don't have her bob like she used to, which means she's probably not about the business this time around. She's
She
probably
needs
a
to
little bit
bob.
more angry.
Okay.
Yeah. And she's like, upset that she was resurrected because she's like, did anybody ever take my consideration into this, or am I just another pawn for another Summers? And I was like, well, girl.
I mean, it is what it is sometimes. You back though.
Yeah.
Now you can change the
You are.
narrative if you want. She about to be taking limbo for magic.
So she's a mutant, or is it
Yeah.
or she's a mutant off of technicality because she's a clone of Jean? And what are her powers?
She's a teller. She can do everything Jean does. Plus magic.
That's dumb. I'm sorry, ladies. That's dumb.
This is gonna be fun. What book is? Oh, she's gonna be a New Mutants because she's taking limbo for magic. I did just say that.
She's not taking limbo from magic.
Yes, she's
gonna show up in her little outfit, probably maybe summon some demons.
Magic
get beat.
Gets limbo to lose it.
Oh, I guess that's kind of true because we have to see her come and take it back. So
I don't think
she'll probably have a little round in there.
And plus, Magic has been like losing control of Limbo. It's been like a little side plot bubbling in the books. I don't know if people saw it. Even in the Death of Doctor Strange, the first issue, some demons from Limbo had like came over and was just attacking people. He had to help her get it under control. They don't respect her.
They do respect her. Remember, you probably don't remember, but remember in Cable, remember he said she's the Beyonce of that place.
All they do is betray her and overthrow her because she's never there.
People listening to her, and she came down there and told them what to do and all of that. Especially when she's down there.
Do you remember?
They don't pay attention to her when she's not present. Now that's the problem.
Because they don't respect her. What do you mean? Exactly. That's what I'm saying. They don't care about that girl. And so Maddie's going to come in and she's going to do what needs to be done.
She's going to do something. Side note. I just got a text message from that boy. What did he ask me? What are you doing?
Tell him you want to bring you some soup and see what he says.
Leave me alone. So we did get a little bit of some stuff, which I'm actually kind of interested in seeing at the end. And it looks like Sinister has DNA from Cyclops, Jean, Storm, Nightcrawler, Wolverine, probably some more. Obviously, this is inching him towards his whole Chimera thing, which makes sense because remember, I think he had his Chimera farm on Mars. So I'm sure now that Mars has been it's become like Alaqua now and colonized by the mutants. This is going to start the whole Chimera thing, which I'm kind of interested in seeing. Only because I feel like that's gonna bring him and Exodus to like a head and they're gonna fight. I like that.
I'm not excited for the Chimeras. I won't lie.
I look at them as like cannon fodder for people to fight. They're not gonna be around for real. I just think they're like there's some things for them to fight.
I guess I would think that if they like fought in the X books.
They were in the Hawkeye.
Well.
Remember, the girls loved Rasputin.
I didn't.
But yeah, overall, like it was a nice little wrap-up issue. Wells is a really great writer. Probably most of the reason why I kind of stuck with this was I liked the writing and the art. I didn't really come away from this like caring too much about the team and like what all that kind of stuff. But like it was a fun little.
I think I would still like. I would say I'm kind of sad to see this book go. I would have liked to see it continue, like just keep it going, like the Hellions program again under somebody else, and really just like see it take other different routes, like as an outreach program, as a exploration team or something. Like just have these folks doing whatever. So I'll be sad to not get that opportunity because I think, especially in the age of Krakoa, where you have all these characters who you are bringing back and saying this is the second chance, this is the time for them to do something new, this is the way to give them that. You have a lot of former mutant, quote-unquote, terrorists and villains who could fit the bill here. And even some who were in those positions and just want to prove that they weren't always trying to be bad.
Yeah. I think that, like, maybe I'll save it for my relaunch because I had a relaunch for Jean Grey. And I know you had said something before about her taking over Hellions. And I think that would be a great place for her. Like, who better to think that they could heal some people than Miss Sanctimony herself? I think that'd be great.
Change all the minds she wants in there.
I would overall give this issue a 3.5. The run itself, I would have given like a solid 4. It's a really great run of some fun interactions that you get between the people. Personally, what kept me in it was the story that they were telling and Sinister. I did like Sinister a lot in this. I didn't come away from like I didn't come away from this thinking like, oh yes, I'm finna become an Empath stan, but
I used to love Empath.
He's still fun. He's nasty, but he's still fine.
Yeah, he is.
All right, and the final book of the week is Inferno #3, and that was written by Jonathan Hickman with art by R.B. Silva, and actually a few artists on this. I think Caselli did some stuff as well. Showed Skiti. And this is part 3 of Inferno, the final series from Jonathan Hickman, as he's kind of making his departure from the X books. And I enjoyed this book a lot. Like, it gave me everything that I was looking for, is kind of like explaining a lot of stuff that goes on with Krakoa. I do feel as though some of this, as well as probably what I'm seeing coming out of what's happening next, feels a little too late. But at the same time, like, there were constant delays with books, and we are in a panty still. So like, I understand the delays and everything and things kind of shifting. But I still enjoyed this. We find out that when Xavier came and gave Cypher, Doug Ramsey, this, like, he left him on Krakoa and was like, I give you this task of like basically like colonizing this place. Learn how Krakoa works, and I'm gonna leave you here. How long is it gonna take? And during that, I had no idea that like he told him the truth. Like, he told him the futures and all that kind of stuff. So this entire time, Doug knew.
Okay.
And he ends up working with Warlock, and he's like, Warlock, should I trust Xavier? And he's like, no. And when Doug is like, I know I shouldn't, because like, it's Xavier.
The girls love to hate on Xavier, but he's right most of the time, so not too much.
Yeah. Yeah. So we actually get to see kind of the inner workings of how Krakoa was kind of built and established, how Warlock basically became like the nervous system for Krakoa, and like that's how we get the whole techno-organic things about Krakoa, which makes a lot more sense for me, because I remember thinking like, this is like plants. How did they like how did they get the tech for all the portals and all this kind of stuff? So now we know that it was because of the connection of Warlock, which also makes sense of why, if you remember before, we used to always wonder why could like randomly, I think Cyclops in an issue would like look over and he would see Warlock when he was looking at Krakoa and then turn away and he wasn't there anymore. I thought that was like kind of a tie-in to that, like it's because Warlock is also like intertwined with Krakoa. So yeah, I thought the explanations there were pretty cool. Then we get to like more of the like current issues of what's going on in Inferno, and we know Destiny has been brought back to life. Mm-hmm. Her and her wife Mystique are out here trying to basically find where they fit and shake the table a little bit. And so they were called to come and meet with Emma Frost because she wanted to come and have a little sit down talk. They go and meet with her. And I will say that I did audibly laugh when Emma explains to them that, like, you know, this is everything that kind of happened with Xavier. They let me in on their secret that they've been like working with Moira this entire time. And Mystique was like, you know, so you found out, you thought you were their confidant and friend, and once again you found out you were just the other woman. Aren't you sick of that? I know that stung. I know that. Aren't you tired of that? Had to hurt a little bit.
But it's also like, why would Emma ever think that? Literally, when they brought her on, they were like, we need Sebastian. That like tells you they're not looking for you.
I always kind of thought that she was like
important
up there with them. Yeah.
Let me not. You know the girls don't like when I talk about their white queen.
Child. I thought it was funny that she kind of thought that she was like on the same status as Xavier and Magneto, and it was like, no, girl, you just another council member like the rest of them. And she of course showed them what happens in the other timeline where Destiny killed them. Mm-hmm. In my opinion, personally, I have to say, if we're gonna drag Beast for his war crimes and stuff, and we're gonna drag Jean Grey for meddling in people's minds, and we're also gonna drag Xavier for being Xavier, I think it's time that we start throwing Emma Frost in that conversation, because you found out that you weren't a part of something, so you got your feelings hurt, and you released Mystique and Destiny into the wild, knowing what they were gonna do. That's messy. You know what they're gonna do. I'm sorry. She's got to be put to the stake just like the rest of them.
I'll just
Telepaths
say,
are nasty people.
like I just said, the girls don't like when I talk about their white queen. So I'm not going to.
I'm just saying the telepaths are really nasty people, and so she tells them that, and basically just like lets them on the loose. I know your girl probably got hit with a straight with the telepaths are nasty because she's in there too. She just hasn't done anything too bad. She hasn't done anything bad lately.
What?
She hasn't done anything bad lately.
I don't know.
Little miss, let's just kill him now. Okay. But anywho, we see that Moira actually gets taken by the they were like red AIM, which I thought was kind of interesting to see them in. Like they were AIM suits, but they were red. And they're basically getting taken by Orcus. And while she's over there getting taken, Xavier and Magneto are basically having this conversation of like, Magneto's starting to think is if we win. It seems as though his belief in all of Krakoa is like, I don't know if this is ever going to change because it's always going to be them trying to come and get us. And Xavier is like, no, I think we're going to do this fine and whatever. And then they find out that Moira's been kidnapped. So they run and go and try to save her. While this is all happening back on, I forget what they call it, the Orcus Forge by the sun, Omega Sentinel is basically telling Nimrod that she is like from the future. And in her future, the mutants always win. Whereas with Moira, she says they always lose. So you pretty much are questioning like, which one do you really believe? Which side are you really on here?
The mutants always win.
That's what I'm saying. They always are going to win.
And it's just like, it's not even because you just want the mutants to win. It's just when you start to think about Moira as a whole, it like kind of makes sense. How would she know that if she always dies before the last thing comes? But then also, it brings in a question like, did she not die this time? Is that all it is?
I think before she's tried to live as long as she possibly could. And even then at the end, it was like prosperous for mutants, but still like the machine ended up coming back or whatever. And then I guess in this book, in Omega Sentinel's future, when the machines do come back, like the mutants have harnessed like the Phoenix blade or like this Phoenix like spear or something. And with that, they were able to defeat it. She's not going anywhere. The fire chicken ain't going nowhere. Yeah, I mean, did you see the emblem on it on the back of that Immortal X-Men tease on the middle chair? There was a Phoenix
I saw somebody tweet. Gosh, I can't remember who did it, but it was like, yes, Echo, Queen of the Mutants.
That's funny. So yeah, we see a lot of that, and Omega Sentinel's pretty much telling you about how like in her future the mutants always win, and Nimrod is like, we could just go take them out now. So the Xavier and Magneto go and try to rescue Moira because of course she's been like chipped basically, and they know where she is, and they go and rescue her. The arm that had her chip in it is sitting there because Mystique had already taken it off, and they sit and hold. By they, I mean Destiny and Mystique sit and hold Moira captive, and they're like, they're not coming to come rescue you, girl. So we need to have a whole sit down talk. Which again, I don't understand why they're even trying to attack her or kill her, because they know that like she would restart
the timeline. Yeah.
Why do they want to kill her?
And they'll probably want to find out why they wanted to kill her before, and if she's still doing that. But
like creating that cure for mutants.
Yeah, like you're not still trying to do that, are you, sis? I don't know. This whole thing is kind of frustrating for me. I really did like the Karima reveal, and I'm glad that was situated because that was one of the things that I've kind of been most frustrated about. Like since hearing that Hickman was originally going to leave, I was like, oh wait, no, I want to know like how Omega Sentinel got back to the space of like being against mutants and got her technology back, because during that one X-Men run, she lost all of that. And she was like on good terms. So like that was nice to see resolved. I do enjoy the stuff with Destiny. I think she's a really interesting character. I'm still be a little bit annoyed she's young, but like whatever. It's nothing I can do about that.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it also feels like this should have been maybe 2 books. Like it should have been another Hoxpox situation. I feel like we are trying to really push a lot of stuff and condense it down into just these 4 issues, and I don't really feel like a lot of it's either getting the proper time to breathe or it just like, and I'm pretty sure it's Hickman, so I'm pretty sure this last issue is going to be like exciting, spectacular, whatever, but it's just done like, damn, like we just got to finish it off like this. It's just like, here you go, here's all the stuff I can talk about. And it's just like, okay, like Bishop wasn't even in this issue.
He was not, no. I think the point of the last one was just to like give him a title and keep it moving.
It's just like, and so if he doesn't pop up in the next issue, it was like, oh, okay, that was another thing that just felt like wasted. And then it's like, if he does show up in the last issue, it's like, okay, but then like, is this getting the story time it deserves to breathe? Because he's not even on that Destiny of X teaser, so we know he's not doing anything else.
Well, there were a lot of people missing from that Destiny of X teaser. I'm trying to look too deep into that, but we did see that at the end of this, the Nimrod and Karima and like a gang of Orcus all come through that portal where Magneto and Xavier were going to go look for Moira. And from the looks of it, and from the last issue, or I think it may have been the first one. The first issue is when we see Magneto and Xavier, they're resurrected, and Emma is the one putting their minds back. So basically, we know for a fact that they're not going to be able to survive this Nimrod attack. And I assume that the rest of these Orcus people are probably going to make a march on Krakoa. So I expect Bishop to like be leading some kind of charge against like the forces of Nimrod or whatever. And Nimrod is my favorite villain. So like I've been having some great times with this. He's been getting some great stuff. I'm excited to see all of the X-Men kind of fight him and like, beat him and stuff. So that's going to be really cool, I think, in like that final issue. They better deliver though. I really want like a nice fight.
We'll see. I don't know. I'm not that optimistic.
What would you have rated this issue?
A 3 out of 5.
Damn. All right. I gave it a 4 out of 5. I thought it was pretty solid. I liked everything that was kind of going on. I do feel like it's a little rushed. It's a little like I'm out the door and I'm just ready to move on. But I liked it. I enjoyed the art was really great. I'm an RB Silva fan, so I liked the stuff in there. Same with Caselli and everyone else that drew in this. So yeah, I gave it a 4 out of 5. Okay. Pretty solid for me. All right, y'all. Well, that is the last. That's the last book of the week. Let's take a break and then we'll come right back.
All right. We are back.
People are gonna be able to figure out what my shirt means.
RABGAFBAN. What is that? Another B? HFSF. I'm lost.
It's the City Girls.
Oh, real ass bitch. Get back. Okay. Got you. I see it. I'm hip. I know what the kids be listening to. Oh, that's cute. But hello. Speaking of cute things, we are back for our panel of the week, and so we kind of brought this up last week. We had a little bit of talk about Young Justice, and I was like, let's just actually go ahead and do that this week. I just watched the most recent episode, and we all know this current arc is about magic, but not even just talking about the arc, but just like the show as a whole. You are, again, someone who really loves animation, and like that's something that you put a lot into, and I think Young Justice has been doing a lot of really good things animation-wise this season, even going back to that arc about Artemis, where they had the big fight with the League of Shadows and like Cheshire and Lady
top
Shiva
tier.
and Kaz. It was like, and they like cut the lights out, and it was like
When they
even
shut those lights out?
cinematography. Yeah, and it was just like, man, this show is doing a lot. And the creators, I don't know if people follow them, Greg Wiseman and them have been on Twitter, and they've been talking about how all 26 episodes are completed and in the bin. They're like, but you know, keep binging, keep watching if you want more, if you want season 5, if you want to like see the show, you gotta watch it, you gotta talk about it, let them know there's a demand. And I just like, let's talk about it because there's a demand.
In my opinion, and you know, don't get too mad at me, y'all. I know how y'all like to tussle, but okay. But in my opinion, Young Justice is easily like top 2 superhero animated TV shows.
Yeah.
I think there have been a lot out there that, you know, have come and went. And they've done some cool things with animation and with their stories or whatever. But I personally feel like the writing and the way that they do the character development is far superior than a lot of the other superhero animated TV shows that we've ever really gotten before. So in my opinion, Young Justice is still like elite.
Yeah, I love it. I mean,
Now,
I don't think
I will say this most recent season, like when it opened with Miss Martian, or I like to call her during that season, Miss Martian Luther King.
But it was a space story, so.
I mean, it wasn't the space part that was boring. Don't try it, girl. But it was, but it truly was like, it was alright.
I think I get why I wasn't a fan of it. I understand why people might have resonated with it if they did, but whatever. I also don't think Miss Martian, Beast Boy, or Superboy were like interesting characters in the slightest. And I think anchoring them as trying to be that without the more interesting other people around, like you gonna bring in John, he's so monotone. He don't talk to nobody. You know, it's like, come on.
But
and then
at the same time, I appreciated that. That like, when have we ever really gotten into like the culture of Mars?
Ever. I mean, I see why we didn't. Okay, but I get it. No, I can understand. Like, I know some people said they've been frustrated with it a little bit because I think a lot of the issues with the 3rd season of Young Justice, from what I saw, was people wanted to see like the team together, and we never really saw the team together. I think this one also kind of follows suit. However, I think it's really great for people who are just fans of those individual characters, because you get a lot more character work, you get a lot more character focus, and then hopefully by like, if there is a season 5, then you can finally truly get them all back together in the spot, because I think that's what people want to see. I'm also a little like about the length of the story arcs for this season, because if we've got 26 episodes, how many have we had so far?
10, I think. 9 or 10.
And we still got to get through Calder, Rocket, Nightwing, and then are we also going to like get to Superboy and the Legion? Because I just think he was snatched up by the Legion.
Oh, you don't got to think. That's definitely what happened. For anyone who doesn't know, the Legion is started because of Superboy. In the comics, it was Clark's Superboy who like came to the future or whatever, and he was the reason like the Legion wanted to become the Legion. Like they would look it up to Superboy or whatever. But then they had the whole like continuity stuff problems because DC, of course, wanted to mess up continuity, and they changed it to where Clark was never Superboy, like he was just Clark, and then eventually became Superman. So then they had to like change their whole story and stuff. So, but anyway, I'm pretty sure they're sticking to the whole Superboy is a part of the Legion, and they're just using Connor.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. That's pretty much what I was thinking, which I'm excited for. I personally liked Connor's stand. I don't know if anyone ever read it, but in the comics, the Jeff Johns run of Teen Titans, he actually does go to the future and join the Legion.
And that crossover is hot.
It was good. The Titans of Tomorrow arc is like one of the best Titan stories I've ever read. It's like top 5. It's up there with Judith's Contract, to be perfectly honest. You had Lorena.
That era of the Legion was good.
That era of Titans was good too. Man, Titans used to be a really good comic book.
I don't know what happened to them.
It lost its way.
You know what? Honestly, that actually is. I think the Titans books have not been good for the reasons that Young Justice have been great, and that's because time exists. In my opinion, Young Justice has had great storytelling because time exists. we see at the opening of every episode what day and month and year and everything is. And like people have to get older, people have to progress through time. While it's like the Titans, they really just don't want them to grow up, or they don't want them to move beyond where they were. So they're just kind of stuck there.
Yeah, I can feel that a little bit. I also do really appreciate how Young Justice does time and lets things go past and then get older. I think it makes for a lot more interesting character moments, and I think you get to see other characters get brought in new ways, as we saw a little bit with this current arc of Zatanna. You know, she's got her magic users in, so she's finally bringing in Tracy 13 and Hailee, who's the Fate Boy, and Sergeant Mary. Well, they're new.
Did they just start? Because on this most recent episode, they were getting washed. Like,
well, they're fighting Chaos Lords.
But it's four of y'all. Like, what's going on?
Three of them don't even know what they're doing. One of the girls is like hiding something about herself. But we did get some Etrigan moments, which was nice. Etrigan is fun. I've kind of realized that Etrigan is like my Beta Ray Bill of the DC universe.
Okay. Like, I can see it.
He's just the guy. He's coming in, he's gonna do what he needs to do, he's gonna fight. I won't lie, I do get a little annoyed by the like rhyming sometimes, but you get what you get. It's his thing.
Sometimes I think it's funny.
And occasionally, like, I think when it's done well, it can be really funny and really entertaining. So it was good to see him this arc as well. But that's another thing I really love about Young Justice, is that it is not afraid to really like dig into the lore of the DC universe and like pull those characters in and do things with them. You see, we were just talking again with the previous arc, Cheshire, they used Onyx. And Onyx, for those who don't know, is she's a very low-tiered hero that operated in Gotham. She was a former member of the League of Assassins. She came over there. She was like the only other person other than Catwoman that Batman would allow to be a vigilante outside of like his Bat crew in Gotham. And she was like really cool, but it's like you never see her, and it's like you never think you would see her in this type of series, and then not only see her, but see her get a lot of agency and a story arc and like really build on it and show that, hey, we might even see her again.
Yeah, and I really do appreciate that like they used her or whatever. I like that they are willing to dig into the DC universe and pull out some characters and stuff, because we talked about Onyx on the show before when we reread I'm blanking on the name.
Under the Red Hood.
Yes, Under the Red Hood. And she was dope in that, but I never thought that like I'd be seeing her in animation. And I thought that it was Gabrielle Union doing her voice, but it's Logan Browning.
Oh, I like Logan Browning.
Yeah, I thought she's doing a really great job. I think she's great there. So more.
A lot of the voice actors have been doing really good this year. So you know what I will say, I realized about the only thing that like kind of annoys me, and this isn't Young Justice centric, but it's Vandal Savage. Like DC animation, Vandal Savage has a chokehold on him. He's in everything. He's
been in every movie.
Yeah. Like, oh my gosh. And like Young Justice really just took it home because they just basically made him the reason for everything.
Yeah. Spoiler alert. We're probably going to get pretty spoilers for people who have not watched Young Justice yet. But like in this most recent episode, it was shown that like Vandal pretty much kind of started it all. He was the one who kind of kicked off. Yeah.
He did it.
He did. He started Atlantis and like kicked off the Homo Magi and the meta humans and all that kind of stuff.
It's sick.
Yeah. Like, I think it's because of one of those things where like a lot of times writers will say like, oh, well, the immortal character has to have been there, right?
Mm-hmm.
I remember for a while, like the X books, like Apocalypse was the one that was like, he had to have been involved because he was always there, right?
Where are you at? Eternals. I understand.
Eternals, yeah.
But it's still just kind of like, damn, he's annoying. But I will say, the Atlantean lore that we got in this most recent episode,
I ain't even gonna lie, it was hot.
Man, I was living, and everybody knows like Zatanna is my girl. Like that, if there's a chick at DC that can match Betsy for me, it's her. And I'm loving this arc. But all that did was like, oh, I'm ready to get to Calder.
Oh yeah, his arc is gonna be hot. Yeah.
And I was like, I'm ready to see it all. And I was like, and I hope we get more of this Atlantis stuff and keep it coming. Because I need it.
Yeah, Young Justice has been really on fire, especially with I think maybe breaking things down into these character arcs just allow them to be like give more history and more character development and
Hmm.
like let these things kind of flourish. Whether you like the history that they create or not, at least they're able to kind of give you that, instead of just kind of moving on and saying, oh no, filling it in your head. It's
Yeah.
whatever you want it to be.
What would you say has been your favorite season of Young Justice so far?
Ooh, that's a solid question. I will say that like this fourth season has been like really stepping it up for me. But like the
Hmm.
first, I want to say maybe the first two seasons are kind of tied for me. Maybe season two.
Okay.
Season two, I got some static.
That is true. You did get some static. He hasn't been back, has he?
He has not. He's appeared in like some of those pictures that they've been having Beast Boy
Mhm.
show, which like I don't know if it's just this show that's making turning me off from Beast Boy.
Oh
He's
no,
been
I
a,
hate Beast Boy. Oh my
he's been
God, he's so,
annoying.
and it's like kind of, and like I get it, like he's sad, he's depressed and all that stuff, but it's also like
Yeah,
kind of frustrating that he is the connective tissue for all of these stories.
yeah. And I like you said, I get the like the depression story that they're kind of trying to show with him. And I actually really do appreciate all of the mental health stuff that they've been talking about. I'm a really big advocate for that in real life.
Agreed.
So I appreciate that, like in this, that they're at least mentioning it. And even when, we saw in the Miss Martian arc where he had kind of like gotten blame blasted and he was like going through all this stuff and they had his mind healed. Miss Martian even told him that like you may have been healed from the damage, but you still are going to have trauma and everything behind this. You will
Yeah.
need to go and get help and talk to someone about this. So I really do
Hmm.
appreciate the stances they've been taking on mental health and taking it seriously.
Yeah, but he can go.
Yeah, I was like, I don't know, Beast Boy.
It's just, and
Has
I
he?
think
I don't think he's always been like this though.
no, he has. He's always kind of been just like the annoying little brother, makes too many jokes. He's funny, but he's supposed to have like the heart of gold and things like that. Like that's always been his thing. Um,
Yeah, but he hasn't been funny in a while. you know,
but that's the thing. He never really was
I don't know. In that Wolfman Perez era, there are a couple times I used to coach kind of chuckle.
from Beast
He would
Boy.
crack he would crack a joke and I would laugh. It would be funny. He had a little sassy mouth, but like
I mean,
I.
I would say he was definitely sassy. I'll give him that.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but it was nice when they used to like kind of check him. That's what was funny.
Yeah, that is nice. What have been your favorite seasons of the show so far?
I honestly think it would be the second season.
Yeah.
Um, it I think it was just very well told. I think a lot of the story stuff they did was good. Again, I really enjoyed like seeing that team together,
Mm-hmm.
and that was cool. I do wish we would have gotten a little bit more Rocket, though. I still feel like she's kind of it's interesting because I feel like a lot of people look at her as like a main member, one of the. She's in the credits for this season.
Yes.
You know what I'm
Yes.
saying? So it's like she is the core cast, but she still never really felt like a part of the team, if that makes sense.
It always kind of feels like there's this like undertones or like I don't know what the word I'm looking for, like a some kind of mandate that like is an understood mandate that the
Mhm.
milestone characters are like
A part of
off
the DC
limits.
universe,
Like yeah, like you can't
but
really
like
do
not a
too
part of
much
it.
with them. Yeah.
Mhm. I feel
So I don't
that,
know, because
yeah.
the same thing can be said about Static. Like while he got some really cool moments in season two, it wasn't like he was like the
In the
main
mix.
outsider or whatever. Yeah. And he got a little bit more in season three, but season three, in my opinion, was they had just been renewed after being like canceled for years. And they were moved from Cartoon Network to HBO Max, and it was
Mhm.
only streaming on HBO Max, and you couldn't really stream it anyplace else outside of that. And I don't know, like it was for me, season three felt like they were like, we're kind of get our like footing again before we can kind of really dive back into this stuff. Because
Season
they
three
did
for
take
me
it a
was
little bit.
weird.
I did think that like while I like that they are able to use the HBO stamp that they have, which means it's a lot more gory and it's a lot more violent as far as like the fights and everything. Season
Yeah.
three, since it was their first season on HBO Max, was the season where they were like, oh, we're gonna definitely like use that because they had Halo dying every 5 minutes and like in the
Yeah.
most gruesome ways. And it was obvious that it was like, okay, she can be revived, and we get to finally do this stuff. So let's just do it.
Okay, that's a fair assessment. I think my big thing with 3 was like, now that you mentioned it, the Halo's death was very excessive a lot of the time. Um, I felt like, again, that cast not really being together and not having that dynamic that so many people had enjoyed and come to love about the show was missing.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of the newer characters that they introduced honestly weren't that likable, which would have been fine, but you had no one to really bounce them off of because
Mm-hmm.
everybody was gone. You know what I'm saying? Um, Breon was very annoying. I remember not
Yes.
enjoying him at all.
Yeah, his anger. But I mean, like, that was his story, so whatever.
But it's like, yeah, and I get it, but it was also still like, you gotta go.
Mm-hmm.
But I did enjoy a lot of things about season 3. I still think a lot about that fight with like Katana and Shiva and Metamorpho, and what is that man's name? Deathstroke.
Mm-hmm.
That they had in Santa Prisca. And I still like how they introduced a lot of people and concepts that you wouldn't normally see. So
Mm-hmm. Even when
yeah,
I even liked when they were in where is Terra and where are they from?
Markovia.
Markovia. Yeah, when they were there and they were trying to prevent Breon from killing, and Terra was gonna do something, and Tigress was like, "You don't have to do this. You don't have to listen to Deathstroke." And everybody shook like, "Whoa, you knew?" And she was like, "Yeah, girl, I know." Like,
Come on.
I thought that reveal was pretty cool. So there were definitely
That's
some
one
dope
thing.
moments.
One thing I will say about Artemis in this show, she's never really been like my fave girl, but she serves her purpose very well.
She's got a great story. Like, she's had a
And she,
pretty solid like story arc that's going through all of this. Even her dealing with her grief,
yeah,
and after losing Kid Flash, and her
yeah,
being like a mentor to kids and stuff. And now she's a college professor.
she's doing
She's
good.
got a
Like
really cool arc. Yeah.
she's consistent. Again, she was serving with the Assassin Girls. She was doing
I'm
shit.
telling you, I had to run that back because
Although it's honestly, I'm
that
gonna
fight
be real
time
with you. Did you really feel like she could hang with them?
with Orphan and Cheshire and
And
the rest of
Shiva?
them.
Yeah.
Yeah. now,
Okay.
now, is she? Would I place her above the people she was working with? No. Cheshire that girl. No. But when it's a team up
um,
out there, yeah. Honestly, if it's Cheshire, Onyx, and the rest of them out there, I would probably want Tigress to lead them because like the rest of them can't do it.
that's true. They gotta actually get to work.
Yeah.
So,
Somebody got to
okay,
lead them, tell them what to do.
that's fair. That's fair. I'll give her that.
Hey, I think, but overall, I think like Young Justice, again, like we're able to have these kind of conversations about them because they have been written so well. I don't
Yeah.
think that like too many other superhero shows have really had kind of character development outside of
Hmm.
like, their powers or like some interpersonal things that they may have with a relationship or something. But you
And
really get a lot like,
it's always done in a very poignant way. Even again, I think back to this season, after Superboy died, that one scene that they had with Superman telling John about grief and death and then trying to explain that whole thing to him,
I
I
was
was in
like,
there like,
whoa,
oh
okay.
my God. I was like, damn, we hitting it like that this morning. I was like, okay, this
Yeah.
is kind of heavy. And then also, I want to say, like, kudos to the writers for that because that not only was it a great speech and a great moment for them, but it felt like a real Superman type of moment.
Like, that's the
I remember
Superman I
watching
want to
that.
see.
I was watching that. I was like, oh, I wouldn't mind like a spinoff about Clark from this team doing
Hmm.
that and like showing that because even afterwards when they went back and they had Lois and she was trying to comfort Clark and he like starts crying with her, I was like, this is good Superman content.
Yes, I honestly feel as though the writers and creators of this show, shout out to Greg Weisman and Brandon Vietti, I think that they really do have a pretty solid understanding of these characters, um,
Hmm.
and they're fans of this. They're fans of the shows. I mean, Weisman is like he's behind a lot of solid and fan favorite shows, The
Yeah,
Gargoyles, Spectacular Spider-Man, a bunch of other animated shows.
yeah,
So
the
like, I
Gargoyles.
think he really puts a lot of care into the characters that he's writing.
I agree. What else are you kind of hoping for from the season?
Obviously, I'm looking forward to the Rocket arc because she is like top 3 for me at DC. And I hope that I hope she does get an arc. You know, I hope that they don't like play up that she's like now a main member of this team, even though her and Zatanna were actually elevated to Justice League status.
Yeah. But Zatanna still come back around a lot more.
Exactly. And if you look at the intro credits, Rocket's like number on it changes from like 26 to like B9. So like I don't know if that means that like she's now a part of like the Young Justice team and not just with the Justice League anymore. So it'd be interesting to see what happens there, if they're gonna explain anything. I hope they go full Science Girl with her. So that would be nice to see. And Raquel is my kind of girl because she's just like around the way. You know. I wonder if they will. Did she have a kid already? Yeah, she did.
Because they had the party.
Yeah. I think I find it interesting that they kind of avoided who her baby daddy is. Or was she married? Did she get married?
Yes. Didn't we have a bridal shower for her?
Yeah, that was her bridal shower. Okay, well, they changed that because in the comics, she was a teen mom. Because in the Milestone comics of Icon, she was, you know, a regular teenage girl, and there was a boy that she liked who was kind of like a roughneck, and he was the one who kind of convinced her to break into Icon's house, and like that's she met Icon or whatever. And then after she like left that stuff, she ended up still messing around with him, even though he was like a hoodlum. She got pregnant and like she was basically like a teen mom, but she would like be a mom and be a superhero. And it's interesting in this they kind of cleansed that part and was like, you know, she got married already.
She's a good Southern woman.
Right.
But though that's interesting. We'll see. I mean, I would like to see a little bit more of Rocket. She's always felt a little far removed, but again, she's in the credits. I feel like they kind of acknowledge her. They know that she's there. They want to see that. I would rather she get at least a good 3 full episodes to explore arc. And like see her son, maybe actually meet the husband, do all that stuff.
Maybe they got divorced. Maybe she's a divorced mom instead of like, you know, a single mom or something. And you know me, I love a force field, so I need more of that.
Cool. They could even maybe bring in Bumblebee because she's supposed to be the other mother. I know she was like also at the baby shower. They hung out. They're both science girls. That could be fun. And I know Bumblebee is a character that like DC. I felt like they were trying to give her like that push to be like their premier black girl. But I just don't feel like they also really know what to do with her.
No, I don't know. I think it's because Bumblebee, the character herself, like she's more science than superhero. There wasn't really a balance with her. She's like, I put the suit on because like whatever. But like,
and then she gets small. I mean, I guess Adam does too, but he also doesn't really click that much, does he?
I mean, the girls like him. Her powers are fine and they work for her character. I think it's just like she isn't like an action kind of girl. Like would rather go be in a lab. So there's not really much you could do about it. You know, nobody wants to watch somebody in a lab all day.
I don't know. I feel like she likes to come out. That's why she's got a little blaster.
I think I do think that when we read the other history of her and Malcolm, she talked about how like I don't really like this, but I kind of do like it. You know, she was like, I don't really like to do this, but I kind of do.
I don't know. Maybe I just like Bumblebee. I don't know.
You want her to be great. And I understand that. I think she could be great, but they would have to link her into something for her.
They got Nubia now. They're not gonna think about it.
That's true. You know, for some reason they think we only have one.
Okay, look at Storm.
True tea. But yeah, I feel like Young Justice, like overall, like the series itself is just fantastic. I know I probably sound like a broken record continuously saying like it's just so great, but truly it is. I think like I would love for a like Marvel series like this where it's an ongoing kind of story. We know where we're going, And the only reason we haven't gotten to the next part yet is because we didn't have the money and the show got canceled or something.
Yeah.
Whereas like I feel like some other shows are just, here are the characters you know, but we don't really have too much of a long form story that we're going to be telling with this.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
I mean, this is also, do you appreciate that this is in another universe? They explicitly talk about this being Earth 16.
Yes, I do. But even if it wasn't, like, I wouldn't mind. I take a lot of cartoons and shows like as adaptations, so I don't mind when they change things. I think about X-Men Evolution. Like, I love that. And they were all teenagers in that.
You know, I've been rewatching that recently, and I have been wondering if that's what they would, if I would be okay if that's what they did with the MCU versions of them, where they just adapted these characters and their personalities, but put them in different ages, scenarios. Yeah, or not even just them being younger, just like kind of change some things around. Because, you know, I still personally feel like of all of the non-616 versions of Jean Grey, Evolution is the best version of her. Like, that's Jean to the T. You know, in the one episode where they were going on some, like, they had to climb that mountain or whatever, and everybody worked together.
That was afterwards she was.
Yeah, and afterwards, Jean was like, yes, I'm so happy that we all work together, but let's not forget we have to do blah, blah, blah. And it's like, girl, shut up.
Everybody walked away, was like, girl, and started throwing stuff at her.
And that's Jean.
That's
yeah. You know, totally. I appreciate when they actually show, even when you do change some aspects about a character, that they'll still keep the core concepts of.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's great. I wouldn't be opposed to it if they did it. And I wouldn't be opposed to it if Young Justice said, oh, this is actually the real DC universe and this is just how it is. It's cartoon. Yeah. Let it be different. It's all right.
I do wish that they, maybe it's because it probably would have made the episodes longer, but I do wish that some of the still shots that we get were animated. There were a lot of times where like they'll just show like a still shot of like an action scene or like something like that, just like a flash of like you can kind of imagine what's happening from there. Like I know during the Artemis arc during this most recent season, when they were kind of showing the difference of how she was Tigress and like doing great things, but then after Connor died, she was like kind of left on a rocker, like things weren't stable for her. But most of those kind of felt like just like these stills. I wish that we got to actually animate a lot of that stuff. But that could be a bunch of things.
I was about to say, hopefully, you know, keep binging, keep watching, keep tweeting. Young Justice is here. Let us know what you guys think about the show, who your favorite characters are, what arcs you're enjoying. If you are a Miss Martian fan, I'm sorry. I was just being funny. Because she's been down bad. Her little moment with her sister this episode was, like, nice, though.
I like her sister.
The sister's cool. You would, actually. That makes sense.
She seems like my kind of girl.
That makes sense. But let's go ahead. Let's take a little break, and then we'll come back and we'll talk about another show that's causing waves. Hawkeye.
Let's do it.
Welcome back, you guys.
All right.
We are here for another watch of Hawkeye. We've had episodes 3 and 4 on the docket now, and let's go ahead and discuss those things.
Yes. So episode 3 opens with young Maya, who was actually played by Alaqua Cox's cousin. Because like when I was looking at the little girl, I was like, she looks a lot like her. Yeah, man, that was her younger cousin.
Oh wow, that's pretty cool.
That's cute, right? And her younger cousin isn't deaf or hard of hearing, but she learned sign language for the show.
Oh wow. Oh, that's really nice.
Cute?
Oh, episode 3 was like so amazing because obviously it was Echo and like getting in that aspect. And I think this was just like a really good origin story. Like I remember when the episode started, I was like, okay, I was laying down in bed, like it was dark, I had the lights out, everything. I'm like, get my little movie vibe going on. And then like,
all right.
And then like we see her in class and like, you know, she's having trouble hearing and stuff. And I'm like, oh, this is about Echo. And so I like that
woke it up for you.
I was like, oh, hold on. And so, like, we get like that first 10 minutes of just kind of like her little origin, her growth, and like meeting her dad and all that stuff. And then we get to the parts of Ronan and killing the family and like her having to deal with that. And I was like, oh, this is an Echo episode. I was like, let me get to the edge. And like, I was just like tuned in. But all of that was so good and so well done. And I was really enjoying that aspect of her story, and I was like, I love that we got that. The part where after she ran to the dad and he was dead already, and we get the bloody handprint on her face.
Yeah,
I was like, that's everything. Iconic.
Yeah. Alaqua Cox has been really amazing as Echo, in my opinion, especially because this is her first time acting ever in anything ever. So I think that's really dope for her. I also like that like she is like missing her leg. And I like that they kind of like included that in Echo's story here, and like they have that, and they didn't try to like, I don't know, change it or something. I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Well, I have a question. Mm-hmm. You think that was Kingpin, who is her uncle?
Oh yeah, who touched her foot? Yeah, oh yeah, absolutely. 100%.
Like, no question, that's definitely Kingpin.
Yeah, for sure. I think one thing that's going to be interesting for me is to see how long it takes for Echo to realize that Clint is Ronan, because there were a couple of times like when they were fighting throughout the episode that like when he jumped through that one window, I thought she was going to recognize that from when he jumped through when he did the flip out the window from when he originally killed the uncle and them. And so I was like, oh my God, it clicked for her. But obviously it didn't. But it's like, I wonder how many times they're going to go in battle before she sees something that kind of reminds her and then how she's going to react after that. I mean, she already hates him, so that's fine.
Right.
But to see that extra animosity come out would be nice.
I also assume that Hawkeye's going to get killed because like he didn't kill too many people. So he might be time for him to die.
Like before Christmas?
No, they'll probably let him see his kids and then he's gonna die.
Let him think he's gonna be happy. Okay, I can understand.
Take it away.
I can see that. I'm really still enjoying Hailee Steinfeld as Kate Bishop. It's actually really interesting. Someone that I know said that they don't like her. Right.
Like just Hailee Steinfeld or Hailee Steinfeld as Kate Bishop?
Hailee Steinfeld as Kate Bishop.
She looked like Kate Bishop to me. Like, I mean,
like doing everything that Kate Bishop does. Like, I don't understand. But I was saying because he said he didn't actually like the show. And I was like, you don't like the show? But I was like, it's literally the Matt Fraction Hawkeye run. And he's like, they're not telling it right. And I was just like, what? What are you talking about?
It's literally like straight from the page, like that. Okay, so like later on in the third episode, we get to that whole car chase, and like that car chase was literally like that
was shot
straight from the comic.
Loved it. Such a good scene. But he was like, no, he was like, he doesn't like the way Kay is. He was like, she finds her annoying. I think he's like, man, he's probably gonna hear this, but it's a little misogynistic if you ask me.
Sounds like it to me.
It sounds like the girl is confident. He's like, she's not as good as she thinks she is. I was like, well, that's the point of the story. Like, she's coming into her own. She's gonna replace her. This is her show. Don't play with it.
A little misogynistic.
It sounds like you kind of hate the girl, but that's fine. I was like, you don't even like Hawkeye.
Right. So why did you come into the show? You knew you weren't gonna like it. But okay. I thought that the episode was fantastic. Like I said, that car chase was like even the Challenger, all of that was straight out of the comic that we just reviewed recently. So go back and listen to that, y'all. But during that car chase, I did say that they switched the positions from the comic to the MCU because it was Hawkeye, Clint, who was like shooting all the arrows and all that kind of stuff in the comic. But in the show, we see it's Kate, Hawkeye.
Because it's Kate
personally, I liked it with Kate, honestly. I'm not gonna lie, her shooting those arrows was hot.
It was good. I love that moment. That was a really good episode. This is a good show.
Yeah, the Pym particle arrow, all those arrows were really cool. I thought all the action scenes were great. The CGI on the one silly putty trick arrow was a little
Yeah.
It was a little wonky, but like whatever. I thought that like overall that whole scene was really cool. And yeah, It's really dope. I like that episode a lot. We really got more of Echo and like her background, and we got to see like how the differences between Clint being hard of hearing versus her being actually deaf. When she came up to him and was like, oh, she kind of gave him the benefit of the doubt, like,
Uh-huh.
it's like, oh, I see you with your hearing aid, and you must be, a
She
part of my
started
people.
signing and all that, and he was like, "Oh no, I don't do
Right.
all that." And she was like, "Terrible."
Yeah. He probably won't go that in, but like I thought that whole action scene was really cool when
That was great.
Kate like swung around that pole and kicked that dude. That was hot.
Yeah, that was good too.
Also, I noticed that they've been very, very like subtle at the way that like Echo is able to copy people's moves and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'm so used to CGI and cool like effects or whatever that I was expecting, I don't know, her eyes to glow or something to like show that she's copying someone, where in
Yeah.
reality she's just watching, because I
She's
thought
just
it was
watching.
cool that Hawkeye Clint picked up his bow and arrow, and she was
Mm-hmm.
running after him and picked him up too, and she kind of like learned how to shoot it from watching him. So I thought
Yeah.
that was pretty cool.
And I think that was something that they really alluded to and that they kind of embedded into her character when they were doing her backstory. They were talking about it, and the guy was she was talking about how they couldn't afford the teacher anymore for her or to send her to the school for signing. And he was like, "So you got to just watch." And then they show her in those martial arts classes, and she's just watching, and it's like, yeah, that's a skill I like that they've done subtly.
Now, I know you are the Echo stan here. How are you
Mm-hmm.
feeling about this portrayal for her? Does this make you more excited for her solo
Oh yeah,
movie? I mean,
100%.
TV show?
I love it. I love it. Like I think everything
Mm-hmm.
about it is great. Like you said, it's amazing that she's never acted before and she's putting on this type of role already. It's like really well done. I enjoyed it a lot.
Mm-hmm. And I will definitely give Marvel casting their credit for going out and finding a deaf Native American
Yeah.
female character to come and play this. I think that's
Yeah.
fantastic. So yeah, I thought episode 3 was great. What would you rate that episode?
Like out of 5, definitely a 4.
Yeah,
A
me
strong
too.
4. Yeah.
Yeah. But heading into episode 4, I might give that one a stronger 4 because I actually really liked episode 4 a lot.
Episode 4 was also hot. It gave me what I needed.
So episode 3 ends with Clint and Kate going back to her mom's house because they're going to go and look up some extra information on Jack, as well as like all the other the tracksuit mafia, and just try to get some more information. And they get stopped by swordsmen, or Jack is how he's going by. He's not swordsman yet. Now on episode 4 starts, and he's like, "Oh, it's Hawkeye. You're an Avenger." I will say that I was hoping that they still had their relationship from the comics, where like they both grew up in the carnival, and like Swordsman is the one who kind of trained Hawkeye for a bit, like when they were in the carnival together. I thought that there was going to be some kind of, oh hey, remember me from back in the day, but no, they're brand new. They don't even know each other. So I did kind of wish they had that Carney interaction. But then her mom comes out, and yeah, her mom comes out, and something.
She's evil.
About
She's evil. I'm sorry. She's definitely evil, but I'm into it.
Yeah, I feel like something is going on with her because she seems too shifty with stuff. She also made a phone call after Clint left and was like, I need you to like do some work for me. I'm starting to think that she killed Armand.
Oh yeah, I can see that totally. And I think everything, just even about how she kind of interacted with Clint, like when she walked into the door after this sit down with Kate and they told her what happened, and she's just like, obviously she's scared for Kate and like her safety, and she doesn't want anything bad to happen to her. But it also very much gives like, no, keep my daughter out of this mess because she will die, and then I will have to kill you.
That's the tea. Because I honestly believe her that if she gets hurt, then she's probably gonna have to. Do you think she's Madam Mask, or do you think she's just a regular villain?
I hope she's Madam Mask.
I like Madam Mask.
I like Madam Mask, and I think that would be a really interesting play on the rivalry that Kate and Madam Mask have in the comics. It would be great.
It is definitely a good way to kind of bring that rivalry in by like just making her the mom, and so that way they have like that whole longevity
It's
thing of
real tension. It's real dramatic tension. This show was good. Sorry.
it's great. I've been enjoying Hawkeye.
The
Um,
LARPers are fantastic also.
I think the one is kind of cute.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know his name. I can't remember his name, but he was the one that helped Hawkeye in the first was the first or second episode when the
The
LARPers were
black
around. Yeah, the black one.
the
Cute.
black guy. No, they were like really fun. Like when Kate went to go meet them for Clint, and they were like in the park training, and they were just like so into it. I was like, these are my kind of people. I really wanted like
Right? They were cool.
this is like a well-known, like it's not so secret for me, but I really want to go LARPing one day. Like it is my dream
I believe it.
to go LARPing and just like have a good time out there on that field with those people and like do some battle. That and I
And do
want to
some
go to a
battles.
Renaissance fair. Those are like my two.
Of course you do. Okay, well, will you tell us what type of character you want to be in this Renaissance LARPing?
I don't know.
Or you gotta
And
think about it.
I think I got to think about it, but I think that's also why I haven't gone yet because it's like I feel like also the people who go, they're like very heavy into it. They know what they're doing. Their costumes look good. What am I going to show up in?
Yeah,
I
you
gotta
can show up looking a
like
mess because
can't show up looking a mess for my first time. I gotta like get embedded into the culture a little more. But I never know anyone who's in it. And then when I try and ask my friends, like, you want to go LARPing? They're like, why would I want to go LARPing? I'm like, why wouldn't you? It's the
it's
ultimate like
fun.
freedom. It's fun. Have some fun.
It's fun.
But whatever. That's my thing.
So we see that Clint's hearing aid was destroyed in episode 3, and we see that he goes and gets it fixed by this woman, and later on he's like trying to have this conversation with his wife. I forget her name actually, and the reason I forget her name is because I'm starting to think that she's someone else. So he's having this conversation with her, and Laura, that was her name.
Yeah.
He'd sent her a text and was like, I need you to do some background stuff on Sloan Ltd because they found out that was like some company associated with Jack. We learned that this company is like a shell company that is paying and laundering money for the tracksuit mafia, and Jack is the CEO of it. Now, he's having this conversation with Laura, and at another point, like she speaks German, and like she's like providing him intel. Is she Mockingbird?
So I think that's like what they were trying to give, but I'm not a fan of that.
Yeah. Mostly because I would hate for them to just like fridge her. Mockingbird's
Yeah.
a dope character. I would have liked to have seen her like out there doing something. But again, that could just be me pulling at straws because I know Hawkeye and Mockingbird had a relationship in the
Yeah.
comics.
I
So
feel
I don't
like
know if
that's something they were trying to like allude to. I think they might be trying to allude to like maybe she is or might have been a spy at some point, or even that like I don't know, she's just been with Clint for so long and she's down for the cause, so she knows how to do this stuff and she just does whatever.
Mhm.
But I would not enjoy like a back retcon of her being Mockingbird.
Yeah, no. Yeah, no. You don't need that at all.
Mhm.
Um, I still think Hailee is fantastic. I think shout out to the Marvel wig budget because hers are really nice.
Mhm.
The
Mhm.
ponytail one is real nice.
Mhm.
With the 2 little strands in the front, it's hot. Um, I do know that they have been looking for this watch, which was at the Avengers compound, and Laura was like, you got to get this watch. We found out that it's been moved into this apartment. Now, so they were already getting the watch and they were getting their trick arrows back as well. I did some digging, and
Okay.
Avengers 268,
Mhm.
which is the number on the watch that it was like stored with, is a Kang story,
Oh.
which kind of makes sense that it's a watch and time, that
Mhm.
stuff. So it makes me wonder if like,
So who do you? I was about to say, who do you think the character is tied to? Because I was the watch scene. I was like, I don't know who they talking about. Who's this watch supposed to belong to, and who's it supposed to reveal the identity of? But knowing that that's a Kang issue, maybe I should go and read it and see what happens.
yeah, it's a Kang story where there's this madness going around, and Cap is convinced that Kang is involved, and he's trying to convince everybody else about it. But yeah, I thought that like, oh, maybe this means Kang might come into this somehow. I don't know how, but it could also just be an Easter egg. They like doing those.
They do WandaVision. I don't
Mephisto.
know. Yeah, but I
Um,
think when we get to like the best part of the episode,
yeah,
and
it's when they get to the apartment.
when they get to that apartment, and
And they learn that it's Echo's apartment, and they try to break in, and Clint is like, "Get out of there! That light is not for an alarm. It's a silent alarm for people who are deaf or hard of hearing. It's Echo's
Mhm.
apartment." And then, I'm sorry, like I thought, Miss Bishop. I don't know. You can't take Kate. I mean, you can't take Echo because
Maya did what she needed
she,
to do.
she did. And so they had that whole little fight scene in there. Maya threw a knife at her face, and she had to break out and run. I did think that the swing across was
Hmm.
cute. I thought that was funny that she didn't
How
swing
she
all
got
the way.
stuck on. Yeah, that was kind of cute. And the thing I loved about that fight, Kate's fighting Maya, and she's like, she's here, and Clint's like, no, I'm fighting Maya, and she's like, no, you're not. So he's like, who am I fighting? And we get little Miss Thing,
The doll.
and she
Yep.
starts using her little stingers, and immediately Clint is like, oh no, it's real.
Oh no.
I know what this is about. And then we take that little mask off, and she does that turn, that blonde hair, and that ponytail comes through. Ah,
She came through.
what a
One thing
moment.
about Yelena is she's gonna steal the scene.
It's still the scene. And then we get that just like whole four-way fight between all of them, and just like going, that was like some amazing choreography that was done for that little
Yes.
battle there. And I think I love that it showed not only the difference in all their fighting styles, but like what they can do and what they're really capable of. Like Kate is clearly in over her head
Ooh,
because
yes.
the girls are fighting and she's getting
And she
stuck
was like, "Whoa."
right, she's getting stuck on the line. It's like, come on now. But I do love that, Clint kind of tries to get her away, but she still comes back, and she
Mhm.
actually kind of saves the day with him because she starts shooting Echo with some arrows, and it's like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
uh
Listen, when Echo ate that first arrow, I was like, "Oh, she means business."
I was
She took
scared.
that first arrow and was like, "Whatever," and kept it moving.
Oh, her show's
She
gonna
meant
be
it.
good.
Yeah,
Oh,
I
yeah.
expect no fight choreography is gonna be real hot. But
Mm.
they had that really cool fight scene on that roof, and Kate lets off that sonic arrow, which I thought was really cool. They've been doing really cool stuff with the trick arrows. I will say they're
Yeah.
they're cool. Um, and Maya leaves the fight. It seemed as if, in my opinion, that she left because like Yelena was beating everybody up because Maya was trying to beat up Clint. Like she didn't really care about anybody else. She was only there to beat up Clint. But Yelena was down to kill Clint as well, but Maya was getting in the way. So
Hmm.
like she definitely punched her a few times too, which showed that like I think out of all of them, if they were having a one-on-one fight, I think Yelena would probably come out on top
Oh, easily,
between all of them.
easily.
But I do think it's gonna be cool because Yelena has some really dope moves. She's really agile and quick, and she like can flip a lot, and she kind of uses her momentum to swing people around. It'll be
Hmm.
cool to see if Maya ends up like if she
Taking some
picked
of
up
that.
any of that. Yeah,
Yeah, their next showdown's gonna be hot. Oh, I can't wait.
yeah,
Mm.
yeah. I thought that was pretty cool. So like I don't know. I thought this season so far for me has been fantastic. In my opinion, Hawkeye is really like one of the top two not DC, Disney Plus like shows. Definitely not.
Yeah.
Well, they're better than DC.
Okay, by a lot. Yeah, no, I agree. This is definitely like saving Phase 4 a little bit, and really bringing some like good stuff that we've been missing from a lot of the other things that we've gotten before. And how many episodes is this? 6 or 8?
Your shade is on fire today.
But
Everybody that came out with something is got caught it straight from Phase 4. Black Widow shade.
Mm,
She turns down.
no, this is 6 episodes or 8.
6. Correct.
Okay, so we got two more. So I mean, we still got to wrap up Ronin. I mean, I don't really feel like this is gonna be like obviously wrapped up. I feel like they're already waiting for like season 2 announcement or something, and then that's probably just gonna be like Kate following through.
Yeah, I was gonna say they're definitely gonna continue most of this. Probably all of it won't be wrapped up. They'll
Hmm.
figure something out to get rid of Ronin, like the Ronin character, in my opinion, because of all of his murdering. But I think that like Kate will just take this on,
Yeah,
or
for
she's
sure.
just gonna lead the Young Avengers. I'm glad she's older too, because that scene of them like drinking together, drinking those margaritas, I will tell y'all, those are good. I've had them. Them frozen margaritas in that pack, I've had those exact same ones. They are good.
They're good. That's
They already come with alcohol already in it. All you gotta do is blend it up. It's good.
Okay. You heard it here. I'm gonna go sometime.
Go get you some. I do think, and this wasn't even me being sponsored, y'all. I just like them. I do think that, like, I appreciate them making her 22 so she can kind of actually like be more of a fully grown adult with stuff. And I do actually like the mentor relationship that Kate and Clint have. When she was hanging from that wire, he clearly had some flashbacks of with Natasha and stuff, and he's obviously still not over her death and everything. So that was really, I like the relationship that they're building between the two of them.
Yeah, it was nice to see Nat again. R.I.P.
Yeah. What would you have rated this episode?
I'd give it another 4 out of 5.
Yeah.
Really enjoyed it. I think this does a really good job of balancing the humor with a lot of the emotional weight that Clint's feeling in regards to his family and the Natasha stuff. Another amazing scene from Echo. Great Yelena entrance. Everything I needed. Kate's likable. Really enjoying the mom and Jack. I like it. It's a good show.
Mm-hmm. It's actually a really quality show. The writing has been great, in my opinion. The cast members have been fine. Nothing too crazy has happened that has turned me off from it, or it's not boring like Loki was. So like I've been enjoying this.
Yeah, I'm really excited for the next episode to see Yelena more, obviously, but I just kind of want to see what they're going to do for her. Are they going to kind of have her like work towards becoming an ally, or is she still going to stay straight on the antagonist side and we get ready to gear towards Thunderbolts?
Oh yeah, because that's definitely coming.
Yeah.
Or something like it, at least.
Yeah, so that'll be interesting to see what they do with that, too.
And shout out to them for using those specific goggles, because I only relate those to Yelena. And, like, I like that they brought that in.
As soon as the episode dropped, I saw all the panels and the side-by-sides of, like, the goggles that she was wearing in Hawkeye and the ones that she wore in the comics. And I was like, yes, a signature look. I love when they do that.
I do love when they do that.
We love it.
This has really been a great show, Yelena Aid. So, yeah, I loved it. Y'all got to keep checking out the MCU Hawkeye. I'm excited for the penultimate episode is usually the one where like things really pop off. And then the finale, they finish it with some superhero stuff. And then we boost off to whatever is going to come next. So next week should be hot.
Very much so.
All right, y'all. Well, then let us know what you thought about Hawkeye. That brings us to the end of the show. Make sure you check us out wherever you get your podcast, and please rate and subscribe. Leave us comments and all that kind of stuff. I really appreciate the comments that we've been reading from you guys. I try not to be too like emotional and stuff, but like I do like it.
Let that heart melt.
But yeah, that brings us to the end of the show. You can catch us on Twitter at Another Relaunch, as well as on Instagram. You can find us on YouTube if you want to watch us and see the facial expressions that we make during this stuff on YouTube at Another Relaunch TV. You can find me on most social media platforms at Uncanny LZ. Keenan, where can they find you?
You guys can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Keenan Lamps. There's an underscore at the end.
Boom. All right, y'all. Well, then let's get up out of here, and then we'll catch y'all next week.
Peace. I don't know what that was.